During World War II, some of America's most important assets, the factories building the very planes that would win the war, just vanished. They were hidden by an illusion so huge, so incredibly detailed, it's still one of the most audacious deceptions in military history.
Take a look at this. From a few thousand feet up, what do you see? Looks like any other neighborhood, right? You've got houses, trees, quiet little streets. Seems like a totally peaceful, ordinary corner of America during the war.
But what if everything you're looking at was a carefully crafted lie? A massive stage set built not for a movie, but for a war?
Because that's exactly what it was. This entire suburb was a phantom. The houses? There were just lightweight frames wrapped in burlap. The trees? Get this, chicken wire coated in tar and dipped in feathers. And those cars parked on the street? Simple wooden props. This wasn't a town, it was a ghost.
So why? Why go to all this unbelievable trouble to build a fake town on top of a real factory? Well, to get that, we need to go back to the terrifying days right after the attack on Pearl Harbor.
The fear on the West Coast was absolutely real. This wasn't just paranoia. In February of '42, a Japanese sub actually shelled the coast near Santa Barbara. The very next night, Los Angeles exploded in panic as anti-aircraft guns fired into the sky at nothing, it turned out. And later, a submarine-launched plane even managed to drop bombs on Oregon. The threat wasn't theoretical anymore. It was here.
And the man in charge of defending the coast, General John DeWitt, was completely consumed by this threat. He saw enemies everywhere, and his near-constant state of dread led to some of the most drastic measures taken on the home front during the entire war.
And this chart shows you exactly what DeWitt was so desperate to protect. America's industrial power was dangerously concentrated right on the coast. California alone had almost half the nation's aircraft manufacturing. You had these massive factories, Douglas, Lockheed, just a few minutes' flight from the Pacific Ocean. They were sitting ducks.
And the stakes were just astronomical. Look at this number. A single factory, Boeing's Plant 2 up in Seattle, built almost 7,000 B-17 bombers. 7,000! Losing even one of these plants could have crippled the war effort.
So here's the billion-dollar question. How do you hide a target that big? How do you make a factory that covers dozens of acres just disappear? Well, the answer came from the one place that specialized in making the impossible look real: Hollywood.
The man with the plan was Colonel John F. Omer, Jr. Now, he wasn't your typical Army engineer. He was also a photography enthusiast and an amateur magician. He understood illusion. In fact, he'd actually suggested camouflaging Wheeler Field in Hawaii before the war, but it was rejected. Just weeks later, it was destroyed at Pearl Harbor. The military was not going to make that same mistake twice.
So Omer went straight to the dream factories. He recruited the absolute best talent from studios like MGM, Disney, and 20th Century Fox. The very same set designers, painters, and prop masters who built imaginary worlds for the movies were now being asked to build a fake world to save the real one.
So how did they actually pull it off? This was cinematic magic, all right, but on a colossal industrial scale.
And here you can see the goal perfectly. The idea was to make a huge factory totally indistinguishable from the real suburbs right next to it. To an enemy pilot thousands of feet up, the two would look identical. The factory had to literally vanish in plain sight. The whole process was just genius. First, they built this massive structure of scaffolding and stretched millions of square feet of chicken wire over the entire factory. Then, on top of this giant canvas, they built lightweight fake houses and garages. They added fake trees, wooden cars, and even painted streets. And to really sell it, workers would pop up through hidden hatches to move the cars around or hang laundry on clotheslines, making the whole phantom town look lived in. See, the illusion didn't have to be perfect forever. It just had to be convincing enough to fool a pilot for a few crucial minutes during a high-speed bombing run. That moment of confusion was all the anti-aircraft guns and our own fighter planes needed to get their shot. And this is the incredible reality of it all. You're looking at a brand new B-17 bomber, one of the most powerful weapons of the war, rolling out from under a quaint little suburban street. It's the perfect picture of what was really going on. Beneath a peaceful illusion, the arsenal of democracy was running full blast 24/7.
So, after all this unbelievable effort, all this creativity and engineering, did the grand illusion ever actually face its ultimate test?
The simple answer is no. The attack they spent millions preparing for, it never came. As the war moved further out into the Pacific, the threat to the West Coast faded. The phantom neighborhoods had done their job just by being there, and their existence remained one of the war's best-kept secrets.
This picture just captures the surreal final chapter of the story. It's July 1945. The war is almost over. And here you have Boeing workers having a picnic on the fake lawn of the fake neighborhood built on the roof of their own factory. Just a quiet moment in this bizarre artificial world, right before it was all torn down.
Decades later, the story's power is still there. As Boeing's own historian noted, even with a history of building the world's most famous airplanes, the thing people ask about most is the phantom village on the roof. The sheer audacity and imagination of it all is just captivating.
This whole story was classified for half a century. It really makes you wonder, what else is out there? How many other grand illusions from our history are still hiding in plain sight?